I'm Crystal Chinea, and I currently live in Fort Worth, Texas, which is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I work in the film industry. I'm currently working in more administrative positions. So production assistant is what I predominantly did for a bit. Right now I'm doing a lot more of production coordinator, producer and director's assistant. Recently got to second AD, so a lot of the production side.
So has COVID, this pandemic affected your work in any way?
When COVID started it was already here, but when it started kind of really becoming a big deal, I think early in March in Texas, I was actually on a show starting March 9th as a producer's assistant, and I was literally in the office for 1 week. I remember every single day, everyone had their own sanitizer bottles on the table. We had our own sanitizer wipes, and we were just constantly cleaning. So it was already kind of a different environment in the office. That was on a Monday. On a Wednesday, I overheard the producer on phone calls talking about how to keep the crew safe, what steps need to be taken. Wednesday afternoon, they were talking about game plans if we needed to postpone filming. Thursday, they're talking about we're going to be postponing it. How long are we doing it? So we already knew that they were going to be kind of shutting us down for a bit. So I was on that job. I was on that job for 1 week. It was great. And then we got sent home because of COVID. The awesome thing is I've been focusing on making connections all throughout the film industry since I joined Friends in Film 3 years ago. So I was really actually without a job for about 5 days. I was already applying for unemployment and getting ready for this life of, just living off of unemployment until film industry kicked back up. But I was a director's assistant on a feature film last year, and that film reached out to me, said, hey, we're working in the editing process right now, and we could use a lot of assistance. We need to focus, on getting licensing agreements. We need to do more research because now that we can't do pickups, it's a historical film. We're going to be doing some research on some maybe archival footage, or we're going to be doing some reenactment footage, things like that. So I got picked up on that job. About 3 weeks ago was the first time that I got onto a set, and I still felt like it was too early, but it was a small shoot. It was a commercial shoot, and I figured, it's better to start off small and learn so that when I get to the big shoots, I've been working on these shoots. I can share some of my knowledge and experiences. So I've already worked on 3 commercials. Come to find out that because Texas is opening up early, a lot of companies are starting to film things here in Texas. Right now, only commercials and maybe some documentaries are picking up. Everyone else, TV shows, films, it's too long of a production to really have an efficient plan. With commercials, we can just do things pretty quickly, safely with a small team. So it's weird because I hear from everyone else in the film industry how different things are. And to me, things really haven't changed, except I've been working more at home than I have on a film set.
Do you think you might branch out?
I really like working the production side of things. I know a lot of people don't like paperwork and details and logistics, but I enjoy working in the office. So at the moment, I'm kind of just branching myself around the office. I'm taking courses to try and learn more about accounting. And even the accounting department told me that whenever there's downtime in the office, they would love to teach me their software, different things that they use for, regarding payroll, paperwork, things like that. I will be working whenever the show gets back. I'll be working with a producer. I'll be a producer's assistant. She's actually the line producer, so she deals a lot more with the budget and finances. So I see myself moving more towards the producing route, which is very heavy in negotiations and contracts and budget. So knowing more about that in production, in the scripted world, because I've seen that kind of a budget in reality and commercials, and the scripted world is entirely different. So it's cool being in that zone. The long stretch, I don't know. I still see myself working in productions. I still see myself working just on different things all over DFW, on hopefully more film sets, like feature film sets, hopefully a lot more episodicals where, crossing fingers that more of that comes back to Dallas. If not, then at least the commercial world does pay more. It's just so many W-2s and 1099s to turn in at the end of the year.
Okay. And then, so I've heard that, like, in the film industry, or like the film world, I suppose, many movies, commercials, TV series, etc., are moving from California to Texas. Now, do you think later on down the road that we'll move from Texas to another state, or even, like, another country?
So the film industry is 100% based on the film incentives, the amount of money that the state is willing to give back to the production teams. A lot of TV shows and productions have moved from California. There's still things happening because there's great resources. There's the film studios, there's film equipment, but it's very expensive over there, and there's states that have a higher tax incentive. So they're able, for example, in Texas, things cost so much less in Texas. Although I've heard equipment is actually very expensive here because it's not as prominent as in California. But, there's a lot of, you don't have the state tax. We are a right-to-work state, so you don't have to necessarily, depending on the production, you don't have to have a whole union crew. And I think with the tax incentives, I could be throwing out this number. I feel like it's correct, but don't quote me. An example. If they bring a production to Texas, in order for them to get tax incentive, basically get money back from the state for filming in our state, they have to hire 70% of the crew Texas residents. And we have to actually fill out a form with our Texas ID, Texas driver's license. They have to prove that they hired this amount of residents from Texas to work on this production. So it's bringing jobs to the state. We're purchasing so much equipment from Home Depot, from Walmart. We're hiring catering. We're buying snacks and crafty. So there's a lot of money coming into the state because of this production, and the state just gives some back. Atlanta is a really big hotspot right now for episodicals. I think there was some episodicals also in Austin, Texas. Louisiana was big. I've been hearing mixed things about their incentives. So I think California will always be the provider of the money. I think, most of the producers, most of the offices, most of the networks, they all come out of California. But I think the production itself is happening in other states because it's cheaper to film in other states, and some states are giving money back to that production. So like I said before, friends in film really taught me how to stay in demand. COVID was scary, but I have not been unemployed. And I was on a TV show, and I'm still on hold for that show. I'm still getting the email updates. We were waiting on the network because our show hadn't filmed the season yet. We were like, is it going to get canceled? Is it going to get moved? Well, the network released an update saying they recasted an actress and they changed the name. So that shows us they're still working. Less than a week after we were put on hold, I was picked up on a post-production shoot that I did not reach out to. They reached out to me. I started having commercials. I worked in 3 commercials, and believe it or not, one of those days, I had to turn down a job because I was already booked. So things are happening. Now, I have a lot of friends that I see on Facebook, and they're talking about how they don't have work and they're waiting for work to come, and I'm in a position where people are already starting to seek me out. So that's what this program does. This program makes it so that people will remember who you are. People will love the way that you work, love the way that you are. Janet goes through that step by step. This is where you want to start connecting with people. This is how you want to start connecting with people, and it's not what you would think. It's not what college normally teaches you. This is how you want to be on set, what you want to do on set to stand out. This is, she goes through all these different things, and it just keeps you working. I have been full-time in the industry since I quit my retail job. I quit my retail job when I was offered a 3-month gig on a TV show. And it was scary because it was the first time I was going to jump into a life of the unknown. Am I going to have a job after this? Am I going to be job hunting? When is that dry period going to come? I thought this was going to be my first dry period. So I've been in the film industry for 3 years, and I still have not had a dry period, which is phenomenal because they do come, and at some point they will come. but I also learned how to save. I also learned so much about advice on taxes, and things are just so different in the film industry. But when that dry period comes, for whatever reason, I'll be set, I'll be ready, and I won't be afraid, because as soon as work starts picking up, I know I'll be one of the first ones they call. And it's not an arrogant statement. It's just, I know how hard I've worked to build myself up and really create my name as my business. And people see that, and that's what they're looking for on their film shoots.